Hey everybody, welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo, episode number 64. My name is Gabe Estel, and I'm here with my co-host, Jonathan Getz, Dennis Levi Leach, and our very special guest, Betsy Blodgett. How's it going, everyone?
Great.
Well, glad everyone is here, and tonight we've got a very special show. This is part of our Scouting Report series that leads up to the Desert Trip Festival in October. So we're going to be profiling one of my favorite bands tonight, The Who. This was one of the first bands to really reach me when I was young. It was peak adolescence for me when I think I got Who's Better, Who's Best in 1992 or 1993. Sometimes we have to start with greatest hits. So that's just the way it works sometimes with classic rock.
It is.
And that album, I got it I think when I was in 7th or 8th grade, and it really kind of changed everything for me. For the next 10 years, it was basically full on classic rock, minus, Pearl Jam and the Black Crowes and some hip hop. But that's other than that.
I knew you were a badass when I saw that you had that album.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, they were really one of the first bands to really reach me, like sitting in my bedroom, just, on the floor, staring at the ceiling, just kind of wondering what it all meant. They were, and as good a lyrics as he could write, you could tell Pete had been there as well. So that's my backstory with The Who. And I think we'll start by telling, maybe we could talk a little bit about our introduction to them. Betsy, I know you're a very big fan. So how did you get into them?
I found The Who by way of the Disney Channel. Because
Doesn't everyone?
Doesn't everybody? So I think I was in 7th grade, and the Disney Channel had special weekends where we didn't have it, but they had special freebie weekends. And they were showing the Amazing Journey Tommy documentary about the making of the musical.
Oh, okay.
And I just watched it because it was on. And I think it's an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but I was sold. Hook, line, and sinker by the end of it. So then I think there's a BMG music situation. So then I got all the albums and worked up from there. So
good deal.
Yeah. Thanks, Disney Channel.
Coming through for you.
Yep.
And so, and that was what? How old were you?
7th grade.
7th grade.
12-ish.
All right. Yeah.
It was about the same age I got into him. I might have been 13, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
I remember I bought my first compilation. I bought Who's Better, Who's Best off of a buddy's dad, Matt Bozarth's dad, Phil Bozarth, had 2 copies of Who's Better, Who's Best for some reason, and I gave him $5 for one of the copies. Took it home.
Best $5 you ever spent.
Yeah.
Right?
I wasn't well versed in The Who enough to know that they gave they put the radio edits on there,
right.
Get Fooled Again, and Who Are You?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and so I would have been, if you were 13, I would have been 11, and my first introduction is that same album, and I'm sure maybe you might even been one of the first people to play it. Although, listening to classic rock, WYMG growing up around in Central Illinois, you always heard The Who, but and then one of the first records, in the first little stack of records I got somewhere, a beat-up copy of Quadrophenia was in there. And so, that was kind of my second introduction to The Who, and it was this is totally different than the stuff I'm hearing on the radio. Mm-hmm. It almost seemed like a totally different band to me.
Right, yeah, at that point you would maybe hear I'm One on the radio, but not much more off of Quadrophenia.
Yeah, I can't imagine unless you're really cool. Quadrophenia is your introduction to The Who,
it was.
You'd have to be very hip.
It was almost. Right. It was almost a turnoff, because it was this is that same band. It was but I've obviously grown to like it later. But it was listening to the radio hits and then having that be one of the first albums I got, because I didn't actually probably buy that Who's Better, Who's Best CD until a few years later.
Who's better? So it's funny that like all of us have a shared experience around the greatest one of their like 800 greatest hits compilations.
I saw it on vinyl like a few months ago, and
really?
I bought it just because it was like this. I had this CD. Yeah, the CD of it had so much sentimental value.
And it's only got like 10 songs on it, and
yeah, it's short.
Yeah, it's a short one. But actually, if we could, I'll jump right into the misconceptions with them, though, with the band. Is this idea, it's interesting that, Pete Townshend is considered this guitar god, but he's not a shredder, necessarily. No. He doesn't go up, he's not real flashy. He's more of an orchestra conductor, and, he's a riffmeister, and, he'll throw in the flourishes when he needs to, but otherwise, he's pretty subdued, relatively speaking.
It was a group effort, musically. I mean, him with writing the music and the lyrics, but yeah, there was. You're right. He's not Jimi Hendrix or.
But at the same time, it feels like nobody could really be Hendrix, but he could do a lot on the guitar if he wanted to. Yeah. But it's just like, well, there's not really a place for it in the music he writes.
Yeah. And he was more about the layers of sound.
The composition.
Because, I mean, some of the later Who records, there's so many synthesizers and things going on in the backgrounds. It's just layers after layers of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he listened to a lot of classical music. So
I think there you go.
That influence probably made it a little bit different than other bands with the layers.
And I guess, then that would also influence this idea of movements throughout an album or double album. And, what you have with Tommy and Quadrophenia. And even you hear, even with later stuff, Endless Wire and I think on one, It's Harder Face Dances, there are licks there that harken back to licks from the 60s and 70s, and it's pretty obvious that he's just kind of carrying this thread throughout.
It's pretty cool. I don't deal in superlatives that often, but probably the run from Tommy to Quadrophenia is probably about as good as any band. I can't really. I'd be right up there with the Stones with Sticky Fingers, Exile, or I'm sorry. Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and Exile. And maybe it's even the best, the Who's run, in terms of creativity. One thing that, if I could throw in a little bit of a qualm, if we could start there. And also, I've got other superlatives. Maybe I'll do that first. I think the quick one from Rolling Stone Rock and Roll Circus is probably my favorite live performance of any song ever.
They did it so well that's
so good.
Supposedly that was the main reason they never released the footage, is the Stones supposedly sucked and the Who outplayed them.
Yeah. That's my favorite live performance ever, and I don't usually deal in the superlatives like ever. That's it, all time. But it is that's my favorite live performance ever. And then also I can't really think of a better rhythm section ever. There's two maniacs. If I could go with a qualm, though, is I'd like to hear Betsy's take on this as well. The output, in my opinion, post Quadrophenia is sporadic and inconsistent. It seems like after Quadrophenia, there was a little bit of a funk that maybe they shook off a little bit when Who Are You came out. But then, Keith was dead shortly thereafter. And to me, it just seems like, I don't know if necessarily their hearts have been in it for the last 37 years. I know I gave you a lot there to chew on, Betsy. All right.
Well,
but to me, it's other bands that are godlike bands put out some really good records after 1973. While I think By Numbers is a good record, I don't know. To me, it's sad that one of my favorite bands' output had to, at least high quality output, had to stop. That's me. That's just me.
Well, I think that's fair. The fact that they have so few albums anyway, I think says something.
True.
But with the whole Lifehouse debacle and like the pain of making Quadrophenia, I think
Sure.
the direct after, it was just, too much for Mr. Townsend. And I think they spent 2 years touring.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
so much time on the road that they all got burnt out.
Yeah.
And then that was that. And then, of course, Keith died. Last two albums. I think it all goes down to whether Pete has his head in the game or not. If he's interested in doing it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe he just wasn't. And maybe still isn't.
Maybe he's not, yeah. I mean, they certainly still play a lot of shows.
Yeah. But I think it's easier to play shows than to, like, compose amazing things like Tommy and Quadrophenia.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, listen, I mean, those are so good, like I said, that, retire and you'll still be one of the best bands. If they called it quits in, like, 1975, would have, the reputation's not really tarnished, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Tommy and Quadrophenia are so complex that I can understand how it would be hard, how those would just sap you.
Yeah.
And then with the Lifehouse.
Well, and so right after Keith died, that was when they got rid of Lambert and Stamp, right?
It was
I believe.
It was kind of the same time, a little bit.
It was like
before.
right around there.
Yeah. But I think
we haven't mentioned Lambert and Stamp yet, but they were pretty important.
Oh yeah.
Characters.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that Tommy would have been made without Kit Lambert, or really any of it. And that's another thing, after Tommy, Pete kind of lost Kit Lambert as a helper, a muse, as it were. And so he was kind of rolling alone on Quadrophenia and Lifehouse. Or who's next?
I just realized we're recording this near the anniversary of Keith's death as well.
Yeah.
September 7th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's true.
And it's fascinating how much of a part of the sound that Keith had along the lines of John Bonham with Zeppelin, and how it's so rare when you have a drummer that's so integral to a band's sound. Yet you had two, probably of the top two ever in the 70s. With these 70s bands, Zeppelin and Who, and to have both of those guys kind of doing their thing simultaneously, and then after they passed away, all of a sudden the band kind of comes to this, not a screeching halt, but a halt, more or less. And granted, the Who did put out a couple records immediately afterward, but it just killed the momentum as well.
Yeah.
Well, it killed the momentum, but they'd also been doing it for 20 years by that point, which I think anybody doing anything for 20 years, you're going to lose your momentum. And when you're looking at, like, the state of the music world in the early 80s, I mean, that's just a whole different sound.
They weren't going to put on makeup and try and become...
Yeah, I mean, that's, in the end, rock and roll is a young man's game, and by that time, they were the dinosaurs.
Yeah, especially back in that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to think, 1978 seems like so long ago to all of us, and none of us were around in 1978. But just hearing 1978, when at that time, they were a really veteran band at that point,
Yeah.
It's when Keith. Keith was like 32 when he died, so for a rock and roll star, that's kind of old,
Yeah. Rock years pre-1990, rock years are like dog years compared to post-1990. Because even though Pearl Jam's been doing it for 25 years, it's different than if they had done it from 1965 to 1980.
Right.
That's like the equivalent of 40 years. You wore them a lot harder before 1990.
Absolutely, everybody did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about post Keith then. Is that cool with everybody for a minute?
Sure. Hold on. Can we talk about John real quick?
You go for it.
Yeah, I think one of my misgivings is the idea that, as usual, the bass player is kind of pushed to the side, and I think John was one of the most enigmatic bass players or musicians of his time. And his contributions, his songwriting contributions were really integral to those albums where, it was just the right spot for a lot of his songs. And we were watching a quick little YouTube video on him today, and he talked about how he didn't play the bass, he played the bass guitar. He liked to play it like a guitar.
Right.
And
he's treble heavy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it was totally fascinating, just like 15-minute little doc, and him believing that it was much more than just about the bass, and his solo efforts are great. His Smash Your Head Against the Wall is on par with Pete's best solo stuff.
For sure. And I think John gives a integral, I hate to say comedic value, but like wit with his songs that maybe Pete's seriousness needs to offset.
Yeah, he's more playful.
Yeah.
And My Wife's Him, right?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay.
I read today that in, I think it was pre-65, I'm not for sure, but Kit Lambert talked to him about doing an album of children's songs. And he had written like 15 like scary, dark John Entwistle children's songs for an album, which I thought would have been fantastic. That would be amazing.
I'd be all about that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good deal. Yeah, no, John's. I mean, it's my favorite bass player. I mean, him and Chris.
So he filled a lot of sound. I mean, because if you think about it, it was just him and Pete and Keith basically making all the noise of that band live.
Sounds a lot louder than three guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about a wall of sound.
Oh, shit.
Well, in the lead up to this episode, I've been listening to post Keith stuff a little bit more. Like what the two records, Face Dances.
That's hard. Yeah.
And it's hard, and I like them. You know what I mean? Like I didn't. Other than the singles, I have to admit I didn't listen to those records too intently. But I like them. I like them both. I think they're respectable. It had to have been a difficult time for those guys to have sort of music, your life without Keith, and just like Betsy alluded to earlier, just the changing musical landscape in the early 1980s. It was hard. as they said. Maybe that's what they meant, right? Who knows? It's probably something else. But anyway. So given the circumstances, I think both those records are good. I think they're both good records. I don't know if they're great records, but they're good records.
They're solid. I think they're easy to ignore, but then when you actually listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Athena. I love Athena.
She does love Athena. I think It's Hard is a little bit stronger than Face Dances.
I do too as well.
Yeah. They're I'd have to listen to them like back to back to make that assertion. I don't know.
That's exactly what I did, and that's how I came up with that assertion and the assertion that I think Endless Wire is more consistent than both of them.
Ooh. I have to admit, I did not listen to Endless Wire in the research for this because I think the first time I heard it
was enough.
Once was enough. I remember actually buying it on CD. It was probably pre iTunes. I've been it
came out 10 years ago.
Yeah,
2006, and dude, I sold it a couple days later.
You're like, oh, this is awful. Get it out of my CD player.
I was just so excited. I was like, wow, okay, a Who album, interesting. And then I put it on. I was like, oh, all right, next. Seriously. That's a real good-looking boy. Awesome, guys.
That's not even on there.
Yeah, it's technically not on the album.
It's not on there. Okay, sorry. Shows how much I know. You can tell the album had a profound effect on
What, that came out, did that come out before, and they just never...
It was on a greatest hits thing.
Oh, right.
It was like a new song that they recorded, put on the
thing.
That old trick.
Yeah.
I went out and got Endless Wire, as I would do again today, and I listened to it a couple times and then moved on. But then, years later, I got this thing in my head and I had to listen to it. And I listened to it over and over and over. And I got quite taken by it. And I don't know why. I wasn't I'm going to make myself enjoy it, but it just kind of came to me. It's just, it's different. It's not... It's as different from, like, 70s Who as different as 60s Who. It's just like a whole different band, practically. Obviously.
Sure, and I can respect that. I don't expect anyone in 2006 to write music like they did in 1968. Right. I guess I expected it to be a little better. Like to me, it made A Bigger Bang sound like Sticky Fingers. All right.
Whoa,
how it sounded to me.
It's interesting because Zach Starkey actually didn't even play drums on it because he was touring with Oasis when they recorded it.
Mm.
Because otherwise, Zach Starkey, for those who don't know, has been their drummer since when?
96.
96, and Zach Starkey being the son of Ringo Starr, for those who aren't familiar.
He's awesome. I mean, that's the best part about going to see him live, in my opinion. If you were to go see him like, this year or something like that. He's still playing with them, right?
Yeah.
And okay. So was he trained by Keith Moon?
Yeah, he was babysat by Keith Moon.
Who the hell?
Right.
Like,
Ringo Starr, that's who.
Yeah, he's like, here you go.
Ringo,
Keith, I've got to go out for a little while. Just watch the kid, please.
Just teach him drums or something.
I'll be back in about a week. All right.
There's heroin in the fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, learned at the foot.
Right.
Foot in the master.
Well, you guys have seen them a lot live. Betsy, you've seen them quite a few times live.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them since John passed away. Mm-hmm. The two times I saw them in 1997, 2000, awesome. And, maybe if you were to play them back for me now, maybe I wouldn't think they were as awesome. I was just stoked to be seeing The Who, once in high school and then once in college. They tour a lot still. Like, I've passed up probably about 5 or 6 opportunities to see them here in Chicago.
Yeah.
And sometimes I regret it. Like, I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch a few clips and I'm like, I wish I would have gone. Do you feel like, I don't know, it's a worthwhile effort to go see them now?
I think it's a worthwhile effort.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year Roger had his throat surgery.
Yeah.
It was after whatever that Super Bowl year was.
Yeah.
When they played the halftime show?
When they did the halftime show. Listening to him, like, I saw them twice this year. And then, like, going back and listening to, like, that 2000 Tinley Park show or whatever.
Oh, okay.
That was. Yeah. After the surgery, his voice has gotten so much stronger. Like, if I listen to those earlier shows, like, it kind of sounds painful.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so
to
early
hear
2000s?
Yeah, like, to hear him sing, like, you're kind of like, oh, like, it sounds like it hurts.
Yeah.
But after the surgery, I think when I saw the Quadrophenia tour a couple years ago, and I went to Chicago for it, it was amazing. Like, the difference was amazing. The show was really well put together. It was really good. And they brought in a lot of that to this last tour. So you had, like, really good visuals. Shook up the set list a little bit. I mean, I could go without Who Are You and Won't Get Fooled Again, because I've heard it.
Yeah.
But, I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a show, and you get a kick out of it, so I get a kick out of it. She always begs me to, like, we should go to Minneapolis tonight. I'm like, sorry, I'm not driving 9 hours to Minneapolis to go. Yeah. You're going to see the same show 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, they don't change their set list. I think when I saw them in St. Louis, I don't know, a couple months ago, which had been a show that was, like, super rescheduled from way before, and it was the last of the dates, and then they're gonna start again in a couple weeks. And Pete was like, "Come see us in a couple weeks. We may have an all new set list, but we probably won't." And I was like, "Yeah, you own it. That's cool."
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort, I mean, to rehearse new songs and everything like that. But
I think that within this group, which is a Pearl Jam group, which is accustomed to a world of new songs every night. That's not probably what every band does.
Yeah,
No,
they have,
I mean,
they have a lot of
didn't-
people up there on stage to
Yeah.
coordinate too. So
Yeah.
Well, they didn't even
Well,
really change their set list back in their prime either.
No, I
No.
mean they're
well, and that was part and parcel with we're doing Tommy this tour, so it's like
Right,
then
but
they do
also-
5 other songs and Tommy.
Yeah.
that's true.
Probably from a set list perspective, I think their best shows were probably those years where they weren't really promoting an album. Or well, I guess they would have been by numbers. 75 or so, like 76, those shows.
Yeah.
Set list wise, I like those the best. Because they cover like, you got like
Everything.
about 13, 14 years worth of material, that's all into one set list. So
They're almost a set list agnostic band, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't matter, even though I just said what I said about going to see the same show the next night. But back in the day, you would still probably want to go see them every night, even though it was going to be the same set.
well, from an energy standpoint,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Back in the day, I'd have no qualms seeing them, play the same songs 3 nights in a row, as long as it was, Keith and John and
Yep.
yeah. So.
I think an interesting point we haven't touched on yet is that they were such a different band in their early stages
Yeah.
compared to how they ended up. And obviously the turning point is Tommy, but it's just amazing to see how they went from like quirky British type songs to gigantic rock operas.
Uh-huh.
And they made it work. And I'm not sure every band could do that. You
No.
know what I mean?
Right.
No.
They transitioned their sound a lot more than than 10 to verses or whatever.
Yeah, they
Like-
did risky things, I mean, like I'm sure like the record company wasn't like, yeah, put out a rock opera, like yeah. So yeah, they took chances. You're right there.
Well, I mean, they went from being a singles band
Yeah.
to an album band,
Right.
but that also went with what was happening in the industry, where it was people started buying albums as opposed to singles. But even their singles, I mean, you've got like songs about masturbation. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
not like your everyday thing. But I mean, a quick one was the turning point to trying the new things. But it
Yeah.
seems like the 70s albums take in more of what they sounded like live a little bit. Like it's the broader, the richer sound.
The actualized.
Yeah, the actualized
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point, Levi.
Cool. Well, let's do our album draft of the Who then.
Fantasy Island album drafts.
Yes. How deep are we going here? How many?
We're
rounds
going
is
to
it?
do 3 rounds. Each
Three
of us are
rounds.
going to pick one album.
Okay.
As soon as we pick an album, it's off the board. These are the albums that we would want to take with us on a fantasy island, or
Okay.
a desert island, a desert fantasy island.
That's right.
Tattoo is waiting for us.
It's all a fictional island. So it could be a desert. It could be an iceberg. I don't know.
Also, official live albums are in play.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So we said, let's see, we drew before we started, and Betsy's going to start. Betsy, Levi, Gabe, then me.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to start and take the Who at the Isle of Wight 1970.
Whoa!
I know.
Damn.
Whoa!
That was my
I
second
know.
pick.
Actually, I kind of see what you're doing there. Wow.
That's a
Yeah.
heaven or hell opener on that one, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It is. Because
I got
Tommy's...
the DVD of that when it came out in like '96, I think it was.
Yeah, it's a good one. He's got a good jacket on in that.
Entwistle's got the skeleton outfit on.
Because you get the live Tommy, and I love the live Tommy.
Yeah.
All right.
Plus a
Wow.
smattering of others.
Wow. I would have lost that on the Newlyweds game. I would have picked something different.
So for the second pick, then I'm gonna keep it live. I'm going for Live at Leeds.
Wow.
What year is Live at Leeds? 70?
71,
71. Okay.
I think.
70.
70? 70.
Okay, so it's the same era as Isle White then, yeah.
I just prefer Isle of Wight.
All
Well, and
right.
supposedly Live at Leeds was actually going to be. They had all these tapes of American shows, the U.S. shows, And Pete Townshend was like, oh, screw having to listen to all these tapes and pick songs. And he had the engineer burn the tapes in his backyard.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Of course.
And so then they were like, oh, we're going to set up a show at Leeds. And then I forgot where the other show was.
Kilburn?
And
Was that Kilburn?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
right.
Which
Well,
they
they
just
ended up
released.
having- They ended up originally they had technical difficulties with the recording of that show, like the bass didn't get recorded right or something.
Mhm.
And so that's how they were basically forced to release Live at Leeds. Is Pete Townshend had burned all the U.S. shows, and then the other show they taped, the bass wasn't in it.
What a lovable asshole.
Yeah, freaking
Still,
prick.
still
We could
worked, man.
yeah, we could have bootleg Who live USA recordings.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, Gabe, your choice.
It's I know it's got a lot of singles on it, but I'm gonna go with Who's Next.
Wow.
I like the diversity of it. I think all the songs sound very different, except for Bye Bubba O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again. Sort of, kind of cut from the same
Cynthy.
cloth a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Who's Next. It's probably my favorite Who studio record.
All right. I'm pretty partial to Quadrophenia.
I was gonna
So
go
I gotta go Quadrophenia.
The Pearl Jam in you.
I guess so, actually. Yeah, I guess of all of the Who records, that probably had the biggest impact on that band's sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the next pick as well.
Oh, it's a snake. All right.
Yeah, it's a snake.
Snake.
So I'm really interested to hear what she's going to pick with the 8th choice. But since the two live ones were already taken, I wasn't expecting that at this point. Boy, it would be a real dickish move to take Quadrophenia and Tommy, wouldn't it?
Do it. You hold the power.
It's your world.
No, actually, I think I'll go with I'll go with a quick one.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, it's a nice pairing there. So Quadrophenia followed by a quick one.
Okay, so then is it now Gabe or no? Who is it next?
Gabe.
Gabe.
Oh, well, I thought somebody would already choose it, so I'll go with Tommy. I mean, yeah, how could I not?
How could you not? It's sitting right there for you, Gabe.
Yeah, exactly.
So me then. Give me My Generation.
I've been listening to a lot of early Who and later Who. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that
You don't normally.
I don't
listen to
always
him.
reach for when I reach for the Who. You know,
Yeah, that's what I did in preparing for this episode. It's refreshing to do that.
I like the early stuff a lot. I like the energy of it.
Is it me?
It's you.
Mmm.
You get 2 in a row, right?
Do I?
You do get 2 in a row. Yeah.
Oh, well, hot shit. I'm gonna do Who by Numbers, so I can feel bad on my desert. I can bask in my sadness in the desert.
It's an underrated record.
It is. It's a great record. And then I'm gonna go Who Sell Out, so I can bring it back up.
Yeah,
That was one of mine. Okay.
Baked beans.
Baked beans.
And so now is it back to me then?
It is.
Okay. I guess give me It's Hard.
Is it me then?
Yep.
Okay. God, running out of options here.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
So just for our audience, there remaining we have
Who are you?
Who Are You, Face
Dances.
Dances, and Endless
Gabe's
Wire.
favorite.
Endless Wire.
Well, among those choices, it's not too difficult. I'll go with Who Are You. I'm a sucker for sister disco. All right.
Little Trick of the Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Who Are You.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Kessler at Recycled Records in Springfield, Illinois. He said he's blown more speakers over the last 40 years to Who Are You than any other song.
Right on.
I guess that's his jam.
Right on. All right, so I'm going to close this out, and just to annoy Gabe a little bit, no, but more for myself, I'm going to take Endless Wire, and we're going to leave Face Dances out there hanging. Sorry, Face Dances.
More Face Dances.
So that concludes it. Yeah, not bad. We'll post that on the website, so you can see how that shakes out, and on Facebook.
Endless Wire, Christ. All right. Okay, so next then we've got we're gonna write the set list for the Who at Desert Trip. Right, that we want them to play Old Cella, as Levi dubbed it. So yeah.
Wait, I thought it was actually called Old Cella. It's not.
I think that might be the first time I've ever referred to it as Desert Trip. So
I didn't even know
most people are like, "Oh yeah, where are those old people playing at out in California?" Oh man. All right, so we're gonna go with the set list here. I get the first choice. It's the best choice I ever had. I'm going to take Bargain.
Well done.
Nice. Good opener. I'm going to follow it up with a B-side. I'm going to do Water.
It should have been an A-side.
Yeah, should have been. Right. I'm going to go with a quick one because I've seen them 9 times. That's the only song I want to see. That's the one I want.
Oh, all right.
They've never played that.
9 times.
9
for 9.
times.
Wow.
Well, and they started playing it on this last tour, and then they stopped by the time they got to me.
0 for 9. They need to be sent to the minors. Wow.
Yeah. Sent to the minors.
I watched one of the recent ones on YouTube. It was fun. I would have liked to have seen it.
See?
We talked about the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus one earlier. That performance of that song it's got to be the ultimate recording of it. I have played that for people who really weren't even Who fans, and they were like, "That was amazing."
It's like the best thing I've ever heard. And I don't say that often.
The part where he's playing the side of his drum for the Soon Be Home.
It's just like 9 minutes of like this just roller coaster.
And then after the Soon Be Home part, I believe they cut to him. He just throws the drum behind him.
Yeah.
Like he literally, he has the drum on its side and he's playing the side of it, and then he just picks it up and throws it behind him.
And it's awesome because they did it like 3 times because they had to record it, so they kept jacking it up, or not jacking it up, but for movie purposes, they had to keep doing it. You're like, it's so good, and you've already done it like 3 times. It's amazing.
It's a workout, man.
It is.
And also well used at Rushmore, correct?
Oh, so well done.
Yeah. Good use of it.
Good use
in Wes Anderson's Rushmore.
Yeah.
So after that, we're going to have to take it down just a little bit so that the drummer can go collect his drums. And we're going to do Tattoo, actually, to just chill for a bit.
Cool. They're kind of in the chill vein, too, a little bit. I'll go with Love Ain't For Keeping, which I think is an underrated Who song.
It gets overpowered by everything else on that album.
It does.
I'm going to follow it up with Going Mobile. It's always been one of my favorite.
Good choice.
Favorite.
Kicking it up a notch a little bit there.
Yeah.
Keep me moving, Levi.
It's a good Pete, and then Pete into Pete, Blue, Red, and Gray. That's what I go for.
Do they often do Pete into Pete?
No.
Live?
So. And he never does Blue, Red, and Gray. I've seen Simon do it, but I've never seen Pete do it.
Oh. Betsy's old friend Simon.
My good friend Simon.
Right.
She bumped into Simon in the concourse at one of the shows.
We got a picture.
I've seen the picture.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll post all her photos with Who members throughout the week.
And at the end of this episode, we're all just going to just destroy our equipment.
All right, so let's kick it up a notch now let's bust into Quadrophenia with The Real Me.
Nice.
Doom, doom, doom.
I'll go with Next Relay, which I like a lot.
What's that off of?
God, what is it off of?
Is it a single?
Is it a single?
I don't think it's on a record. Yeah, I don't think it's. I'm sorry, I don't think it's on an LP. Yeah, I think it's a single.
Yeah.
Because it was on Hooligans.
Hooligans.
So that was a compilation, right?
Said it was part of the aborted Lifehouse project.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good one.
I'm going to follow that up with Naked Eye.
Oof,
Tough one.
And I'm going to bring out the Seeker.
We should just have an arrow. Naked Eye into the Seeker.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, yeah, we're going to honor the Ox and do Heaven and Hell with the next song. Though they would often open with it, but we're going to sneak it in here right after the Seeker. Heaven and Hell.
Cool. I'm going to go with Drowned after Heaven and Hell. Yeah. Probably my favorite song on Quadrophenia.
I'm going to follow it with Young Man Blues. The Live at Leeds version of that song is probably my favorite Who recording. There's just so much power in that album. So,
yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. And I'm going to go I Don't Even Know Myself. Which I
That's
think
a good one, too.
Fits with Young Man Blues. In my mind, those are together.
We're picking winners, guys. There's no losers in this crowd.
No.
Pete, just email us and we'll get this set list just to you.
Yeah, we'll figure out the lighting and all that and how to switch between the instruments. Because in the next one, we're definitely gonna need some serious lighting effects with Eminence Front. Eminence Front, song number 16.
The sexiest song.
The sexiest, the song about a bunch of blow, apparently.
Have some guest synthesizer players on that one.
Yeah. Song's got a saxophone in it too, right? Does it? Eminence Front?
I don't think so.
Maybe not.
Maybe one's hiding in there somewhere. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. So I'll keep the this will be the post Keith segment of the show. I'll do another Tricky Day,
which is a great song.
I'm gonna play FM radio program director, and I'm gonna go with Who Are You. Like I said, Mark Hessler, if that's the song you can crank and blow speakers to, that's good enough for me. I do actually have a 45 version of that song, and I use it as like a tester when I'm like setting up a system. I'll put that song on just because there's so much going on in that song.
Huh. It's still a ripper. It's one of those ones that I don't tire of hearing, no matter how popular it is.
Yeah. Well, since we're getting to the end of the show...
Yeah, so we have like a couple more slots before the end of the set.
Yeah. It's time to bring out The Amazing Journey into Sparks.
There we go.
Nice.
One of the first things I wooed her with was I learned Sparks on the guitar. It was a clanky version of Sparks, but it was Sparks.
It was Sparks. It was there.
According to the chords I was playing in sequence, it was technically Sparks.
And now you're married. There you go. So
sounds like that spark really lit a fire, Jonathan.
Put it on a tee for you, buddy. Put it on a tee.
And his birthday.
Well, and since we work so, that is true. I share a birthday with Pete, which also earns me brownie points. And since we work so well together for this to close out the set, I'll take We're Not Gonna Take It into Listening to You. Not necessarily As the Sun is Rising, like at Woodstock.
But why not?
All right, I get opinions to begin the encore here. And I'm going to go with an older cover that they did in the, I guess it'd been the mid-'60s probably. Maybe they did it later than that too, I don't know. I'll do Shout. Since we're at Old Cella, and if he's kicking around backstage, let's bring out old Mick and have him help out with Shout.
You said old cover. I thought you might go Summertime Blues.
Yeah.
You know what? I regret.
It's a good one. Dude, I always liked their version better than the Blue Cheers, which I think the Blue Cheer was like a year later than the Who's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I only know the Eddie Cochran.
Blue Cheer was like a kind of an early stoner rock band.
Yeah.
Psych band. They had a hit with it.
Rip.
Yeah. I think it was from 68 is the Blue Cheer, and I think the Who was like 67 maybe. But my encore, I'm going to call up, we're keeping the special guest going. I'm going to call up Neil Young, and he's going to do a rippin' Join Together.
Nice. I was hoping somebody would pick
his
Join
voice
Together.
and his guitar on that, I think, would be great.
I was reading about Join Together because it's not on a full length LP. So they recorded it in '73, And then the only time they ever played it live was as a tag on the End of My Generation or something, but it was more of a blues version. But the version we're all familiar with is what they recorded in 73. They didn't actually play it in that format, that their recorded version, until like 89.
Oh, the first reunion tour.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think, and we got to hear it, right? When we saw them a couple months ago here in Kansas City. And, oh man, that song rips. Yeah, you got to play that every encore.
Yep. Especially with Neil Young available.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna go back to a quick one and go with "So Sad About Us." I know.
Get some harmonies in there.
I like that one.
It will not be a crowd favorite, but I will be happy about it.
You gotta throw the diehards a bone.
Yeah.
You know?
I have dynamics in the encore.
And then I'm going to go back to Quadrophenia and take 515.
Awesome.
Probably my favorite song on there. Well, no, I already said that about The Real Me, so it's my second favorite song.
Yeah, you're into the show.
To close it then, I'll go with a good message. The kids are all right with Keith Richards and Charlie Watts. Bring out Keith and Charlie.
Yeah.
Bring out Charlie's little drum kit, and we're good to go on The Kids Are All Right.
Great.
Be like it's 1965 all over again. Or when did Kids Are All Right come out?
64, 63.
Okay.
Yeah,
I knew it was around then. Yeah. So
65. Yeah.
65. Oh,
65.
we're at the marquee.
At the marquee.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very appropriate, and I think also for the gig, it's appropriate.
Yeah. Right.
That's a hell of a set list.
It is a hell of a set.
It is. I'm in.
No
I'm in,
nomination
guys.
for Baba O'Reilly.
Nope.
This is very
Which
true.
I'm fine with. I
Yeah.
know there will be some diehards out there that might not agree with that, but
I do feel like there should be a bellboy for Keith, but he didn't fit in.
Oh, yeah, that would have been good.
Keep a lip button now.
They did a nice thing in the Quadrophenia tour where Keith sang it, and so like they just went back and forth with the video. It was seamless. It was really good.
Cool.
And so it was like Keith live singing it. It was really cool. And they did the same with John Entwistle's bass solo during 515.
On the video projection? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Just short of holograms. Not quite hologram status
Almost
yet,
there.
but
Excellent. That's a hell of a set list, guys. Nice work.
yeah, we'll post that too.
Oh, excellent. Gosh, I think that probably about wraps it up here.
Yeah.
We already talked a little bit about us seeing the Who live. Betsy's seen them. Betsy, I think, wins the title. You've seen them 9 times. You said
9 times, and I think Roger
9.
maybe 5 or 6.
9 times.
Listen, you are a fan. You like him. You like Betsy. You like him more than I do. I have no desire to see Roger Daltrey solo, but yeah, you win. All right, good stuff. Well, thanks for sitting in with us.
Of course.
Hanging out.
Of course.
Appreciate the insight. Everybody, you can learn so much about rock and roll Shin-Soo. Previous episodes, different links to cool videos and memorabilia, other things we posted at rockchew.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at rockinchew. That's in as in naked eye. So rockinchew. Follow us there on Twitter and Instagram. Please like us on Facebook. And also, the most important thing that you can do is subscribe to us. So you can, when a new episode's up, you can hear it right away. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube, and then also we're on a bunch of different podcasting apps. Guys, would you say you could listen to us anyway, anyhow, anywhere? Perhaps. Am I right?
You got it.
if you're going mobile, for sure.
Right, it's true.
Oh.
It's true.
Oh,
God,
boy.
I'm glad Verizon hasn't gotten a hold of that song yet. The marketers ruined Bob O'Reilly for me, so let's not touch the rest of the catalog, guys. Okay. But anyway, thanks again, Betsy, and like to thank everybody for sitting in with us, and please visit rockchew.com. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Good night.
Peace.